Welcome back to Resilience plus Rise, the podcast that proves adversity is just a stepping stone to something which is extraordinary. I'm your host, Thomas Carrier. This podcast is a companion to my now released book, Resilience plus Rise 26.2 Transformative Miles to Unleash Your Marathon of Life Mindset. Here we amplify stories of hope, perseverance, and success to inspire your journey. The website for the book, in case you're interested in it, it's in the comments below. Today, it's an honor. I'm truly humbled and elevated by the guest who I have, Susie Vybiral. She's a doctor honoris causa. Sorry if I mispronounced it. She's a founder and the CEO of Room Redux, a national non-profit organization. Room Redux transforms rooms and lives of children who have faced physical and or sexual abuse. Room transformation gives the children a fresh start while changing the trajectory of their life and breaking the cycle of abuse. Before I can go deeper on saying more about it, let me have the honor and pleasure. Susie, welcome to Resilience plus Rise, the podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Thomas. It's an honor for me. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. And also, guys, I forgot to mention is that Susie is also La- L'Oreal Woman of the Year
Yeah, 2022.
for 2022 for the work she's been doing.
Yeah.
And I will be putting out Susie's links in our comments below. Do reach out to her because, as she says, even a small impact becomes we for the transformation for the future generation. Susie,
Yes.
what's your story?
Well, I love how you talked about Room Redux so beautifully and perfectly. Thank you. I love to hear other people explain what we do because, as we were talking before, it takes all of us and we are all Room Redux. So, for us to be able to say exactly what we do, which is transform the rooms and lives of children who have faced sexual and physical abuse, that's huge. So, good on you. Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So I was a family advocate at a children's advocacy center years ago, and every day I would hear the horrific stories of what's going on with children. The statistics are staggering. And it's not just in Texas where I am, it's not just in California or Colorado or Canada. It's everywhere. It is worldwide. 1 in 4 girls, 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. And that's just what's reported. That's just what we know. So it's a huge amount of children that are going through unfathomable things. So when I would speak to caregivers and parents each week, when they would bring their children for counseling after their initial forensic interview, I would find out, well, she's kind of starting to open up in counseling, but is still terrified to be in her room. The place where we all love to be, our room, especially as a child, that should be a safe place, a place where we can play and rest well and heal and get away from the world when we want to, or have friends over. And that's not what these children are wanting to do. They're putting pallets on the floor in their parents' room, or they're sleeping on the couch. They're scared to be in there. And I thought, my goodness, these children are going back to a room where abuse occurred, or there are triggers in the room that, boom, instantly they're thinking about the abuse that occurred to them. Or that happened to them. And so I thought, well, we need to change the environment. I actually have something on my wall over here in my office that says, create the thing you wish existed. And so that's what I did with Room Redux.
Fantastic. There are times I've done quite a bit of podcasts, and there are times wherein you're just where I'm speechless, and I want you to continue with what's been happening. But a question which comes up and which I tend to say time and again is that sometimes our deepest of purpose comes from our deepest of hurting or deepest of pain.
Hmm.
It could be one instant, or it could be multiple instances, or it could be something that has been happening over a period of time.
Yeah.
Was there a pivotal moment in your time wherein you realize, no, this is what my purpose is? Or how did that happen?
Yeah. So I started my journey of schooling anyway to get my psychology degree back in 2011 when my son started college at the age of 16. And yes, I know. So I drove him to college for 2 years, all the way to Austin, an hour and a half away. And I began to think about it. What is my purpose? I need to be doing something besides Susie Homemaker, literally Susie Homemaker. And I had always wanted to be a psychologist. So I heard very loud and clearly, go to school. And so I started my bachelor's. And then when I was in my master's degree for psychology is when I was interning at that children's advocacy center. And that's when my eyes were opened. I really did not, I did not have the full scope of what's going on with kids out there. I've always been a very um, hands-on mother, PTO mom, room mother, all of those kinds of things. And so, and my son and I are very close. So there was never anything that I had to worry about with Michael, my son. But then hearing every single day, multiple children, these things that are happening by people that they know, love, and trust as to boot, right? I thought, my goodness, that was really the pivotal moment for me, understanding, completely realizing that, wow, this is not something that happens over there. This is not, and we're talking sextortion, trafficking, abuse, all of those things. It's happening right here in our backyard, not over there in another country, somewhere else. It's right here. That was the pivotal moment. Let's help these kids. If we don't do it, who's going to?
And you would think US being the first world country where people are more educated.
Yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, people are educated, but it doesn't stop what these predators want to do. They're gonna do everything they can do to do what they want to do, which is hurt children. And the way I look at it too, now with Room Redux, we have our partners essentially are people who are on the forensic side, the digital side, who are tracking traffickers, abusers, helping rescue or recover children, the law enforcement side that helps recover them, counselors who are helping them through all of this, and then Room Redux, where I say we're on the happy side of the trauma because the pedophile, the perpetrator is out of the picture, and now we can come in and change their environment along with their being in therapy, getting that part of the healing puzzle. We can again put them on a better trajectory to make their lives better, to help them thrive, to become good members of society and not do the same thing to other children or to people.
So, again, as a family advocate, and now you got into this space of redefining what is a sense of comfort, a sense of protection for the vulnerable children. What have been your moments, maybe when you return back home or end of the day, and you said, that was challenging, but I believe I have done. So, were there some instances, some spaces that you think about what happened? No names to be taken, nothing, but just what happened to Susie, the provider, to Susie, the human.
Ah. Well, when I will say, when I hear the stories of what's happening with children, I mean, my goodness, we do have chapters across America now, and so, and we're working on other countries, and the executive directors of each chapter hear firsthand from the referring agency or law enforcement, or the parent or the caregiver, what's going on with the kids. But initially, when I started Room Redux, I would hear straight from them what happened to these children. And it's a tough, it's it's really tough to hear. And even as a family advocate, when I would hear from parents and caregivers what was happening to these children, and sometimes from the children's lips to my ears when they would have to have a SANE exam, which is a sexual assault nurse exam, and I would hear straight from them. Those were the days when I'd have to lock my office door. I'm not in, or go home, because they're, when I say unfathomable, I mean fathomable. So those types of things still, I don't think those are things that anyone in this space, we don't become jaded to any of that, which is why we keep going, which is why we keep on, which is why we know that we're helping children. To hear one response, so everything's confidential. You'll see before and after photos of room transformations, but you're never going to see the children, ever, ever, ever. But sometimes the parents will send us videos, me or the executive director of the chapter, and it's the child's reaction video when they walk into their room. And oh, Thomas, it is squeals of delight and just complete disbelief, and it's everything they ever wanted. I mean, I'm getting chills talking about it, and I talk about Room Redux all the time. So just hearing one child, just hearing that, we got to keep going. This is important. It's too important.
Wow. Again, as I mentioned initially, is that guys, if you're hearing this and if it has touched some recesses of your mind, because what Susie's and her team is doing is something very powerful. As we always think is that it's happening over there, but we may not realize at times it could be happening over here also.
Right.
So, what may be the help that you're doing? It may be not that the people that you know, but the space, the soul of a child being saved. You may not know how the thanks come back to you,
Mhm.
but it will work. And this is what I say is that have a look onto the comments. So, Susie, when you mentioned Room Redux is going through different chapters around the US as well as other countries, tell me what is the goal of Room Redux at this point? I mean, what is the next few months plan or the next few years plans? What's exactly happening over there? Because, sorry, the reason I'm asking is that when we talk about it's happening in the first world country, that's what my initial question was. But when I take a page out and what's happening maybe in the second or the third world countries, places like now when we talk about Europe, again maybe I'm being generalization or judgmental. There's a lot of when you talk about the digital media where kids are being exploited, okay, or it could be some other parts of Africa or something like that,
Mhm.
or even developing countries. So in these spaces, what are you? How? What's your plan for room redux?
Well, since I started Room Redux, I've always thought we have to have Room Redux in every city, every state, every country, because as I said, the statistics are the same everywhere. It's just a fact. And for children who are in second, third world countries, there are not a lot of resources for them. That's just a fact. And there are people who care about them, and there are agencies and organizations who are working to get over there to help them. But yeah, the big time goal is to be everywhere to help children everywhere. I mean, I in the very beginning, I used to say we need to be everywhere, even Papua New Guinea, and I didn't even know where that was, but I just kept thinking Papua New Guinea or Kenya or India or um, Philippines, everywhere. Philippines is really bad right now, and so that's the ultimate goal. I mean, here in America, we have each chapter is a foreign entity essentially. So we file as a foreign entity to be Room Redux Georgia or Room Redux Sacramento, Room Redux Denver. But to go into another country, we have to file completely differently. And so Canada is probably a little easier than the Philippines. That's a really big process, but that's the ultimate goal is to be everywhere. And what I feel like is when we have executive directors who are in those cities, states, countries, they know what their culture, what they know their culture, they know what those children in that culture need. So here in America, we might put, I don't know, whatever band the child loves is something in their room regarding a band they like or anime or whatever they're into, but it might be completely different in the Philippines that we don't know about, but they do, those executive directors do. So that's part of the big picture, is to have executive directors running chapters in every country. That's
Okay,
big.
that's good because again, it is one seed that gets into a huge, becomes a monumental. I mean, just a seed can be a mighty oak, and
Yes,
that can give shade to thousands and thousands of people who are walking under it, or how it spreads around.
I love that.
And again, when you talk about the US, I always take the example of the redwood forest, wherein the forest is not, it's a huge densely forest, but then when you realize it's the roots that go around and entangle with the other roots of the other trees, and that's how they become stronger.
Right,
Okay,
right.
and that's why we feel the lushness of that huge forest. But then when we talk about connectedness, so for me, the way I look at connectedness is that we all are like angels with one wing. When we hold another, that's when we fly higher.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's beautiful.
So what I'm seeing about, or what I have now gone further when I'm talking the discussion with you, is that what y'all are doing, which is very profound.
Thank
What what else would you like to say specifically that we are talking about Room Redux,
you.
and what has been the impact for you taking on this project?
It's been a huge impact because it's essentially it's transformed my life too. When I started this journey of school, my bachelor's, my master's, I mean, I've been in school since 2011, and now I'm working on my doctorate. I do have an honorary doctorate, which is what you mentioned earlier, but I'm working on my PsyD, which is doctorate of psychology. I'm this close to being Dr. Seuss. I'm so
Congratulations.
close.
Congratulations and best wishes.
So close. Thank you. But initially I thought, well, I will have my own practice, or I will work in a mental hospital, because the brain fascinates me. It is my jam. I'm just so fascinated by the brain. But I know that now it's focused toward Room Redux, and that's this journey of schooling that's going on, because it's also helped me understand that children's brains are rewired when they are abused, especially at a young age. The wiring changes. But what's so fascinating to me, and I always tell people, I'm not going to completely geek out on this, but it's so fascinating, epigenetics. So yes, their brains have been rewired because of all the abuse that they've endured, but they don't have to stay that way. I'm sorry, they don't have to stay that way. It's that their DNA can actually change. So they're not stuck. I think a lot of people think, well, this is just the way it is. This is the way it's always been,
Mhm.
but it doesn't. So when we get them out of that situation that they've been in, when they've been recovered and they're now in therapy, which I said is so crucial, and then they have a fresh start, they don't have these triggers, their brains can be rewired in a good way, in a healing way, so that they can thrive and move forward. I don't even know if I answered your question, but I get so excited about
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Actually, the next question was coming as when you were talking about it, the next question immediately came, which was coming up is that again, it could be a judgmental question. What happens is that when we are working for a change for the betterment of humanity,
brain.
universe usually throws in a couple of curveballs, which makes you move away from your primary goal.
Mhm.
So when I'm looking at you at this point of time, okay, 2011, she started with her learnings and she's continuing with it. She developed this Room Redux. But your life by itself, there are few questions which come up. Is number one is that yes, as a psychologist or even me as a podcaster, there are times wherein I'm very empathetic to the person on the other side.
Mhm.
It some of the guests that have come and these wonderful humans, it has torn a part of me when I'm just hearing what they have gone through.
Mhm.
So how do you balance the empathetic Susie, the homemaker Susie, and the person who's driving that organization? So how do you manage all these different facets of your life?
Some would say not very well. Some would say, wow, really great. It depends on the day, Thomas. It really does.
Okay.
It does. I mean, yeah, it's challenging. I mean, the good thing, my son is 31 now, so
Mhm,
he's on his own,
mhm.
empty nester here. But it's I have to put things on my calendar. I will say that I have to put Room Redux, the work that I do on for Room Redux, my meetings, everything that I do on my calendar. And then I have to mark off DP, which is doctoral project. Sometimes I put on my calendar nap. I literally put nap because if I don't, I will not. Or I'll put eat because I'll get so busy and so caught up in what I'm doing and so excited about what we're doing and transforming rooms and talking to the other chapters and our board of directors and making sure everything's going well. It'll be 6 o'clock and that's right. I should probably eat food.
Mhm.
I have a great assistant. I will say that. And she makes sure that I get a pedicure. And funnily, though, when we do that, which we did yesterday, we have a meeting. So we spend that hour and a half discussing everything that is needs to happen. But
Okay.
it's what I call feeding two birds with one scone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But again, for as a coach, and specifically my framework is resilience plus rise based on this particular book. What are the reasons what has driven me to get into the coaching spaces about the burnouts, specifically with executives, etc.
Mhm.
And a lot of us, we think when we are wearing the corporate hat, or and when we are wearing the hat for the home, or even keeping up with the Joneses and with the friends and things like that, doing everything right usually drives towards burnout,
Mhm.
at times sooner than what you can expect. And it could be, as you mentioned, time is a factor. So working long hours, ignoring your own limits, and sacrificing at times, I would say, for the people who are there, sacrificing their health for wealth.
Mhm.
And when you just mentioned is that when you're mindful about even blocking that time for nap and to eat, it's a very powerful. I've been a podcast guest, and they ask one of the questions they usually there have been questions which is asked is that what how do much do I advocate for rest? And I say is that strategic rest gets you to the next level. It
Mhm.
is so integral between efforts and aligning your action with your values. And just in talking with you, I realize there's so much of values that you hold so close to you, and that's the reason you're passionate.
Right.
And what I'm absolutely thankful at this point of time is Susie, because you got so many different things happening around, and still, guys, this is such a golden nugget that she has given her space and time to be on this particular podcast.
Of course.
A critical question, and specifically for people who are in the same space, or it could be the people who are just working passionately about what they love.
Mhm.
How do you separate the work that you do and the person that you are? If it's a secret,
It's not
it's
a
okay.
It's not a secret. So I used to say when I was a family advocate, I would look at a parent or caregiver sitting across from me and I would say, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself first. When you're in the plane, they say put it on yourself so that
Mhm.
you can help your child or help others. Now that's easy to say to people, but I'm not always a do as I
Yeah,
as
do as I say. Yeah,
do
okay.
what I
Ah,
said. Yeah,
mm,
right.
okay. Mm.
um, eh, so when I started Room Redux, I was full on. If you asked me to meet you at 8 a.m. for coffee, boom, I'm there. 9 a.m., a meeting right after that. Sometimes I would have 3 meetings in a row at this Two Charts Bakery in New Braunfels. I would have a lunch and then I would do meetings, network meetings. But I was so passionate about starting Room Redux and getting the word out there and making people aware of what's going on with our children and let's help and let's build, let's do all of these things. So that was 2019 was when we officially formed our board and got our 501c3. So now some time has passed. I'm just going to say it on this podcast. I'm 55 and 3/4 years old. It's almost my birthday. But what I've come to realize over these few years is I do have to slow down. My son once asked me, Michael is so smart. And he said, Mom, do you like waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go run and then to get ready for an 8 o'clock meeting? I said, no, I am not a morning person. I like night. I'm not a morning person. So he said, who makes your schedule? And I thought, I do. People can wait. It doesn't have to be at 8 o'clock. Maybe I say, let's meet at 10. That really changed my perspective. It changed the lens through which I looked at my schedule and what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. I'm more productive later. So be aware of that. Maybe you're really productive in the morning, maybe you're not. So that, and then also taking time for yourself. I I've been in school since 2011. I'm working on my doctorate, but this past October, we were planning for our big Room Redux gala. We have one every year, and it's like planning a wedding, and it's huge, and it's so much work. And I called Cal Southern, where I am getting my doctorate, and I said, I need a break, or I'm going to have a breakdown. I need
Mm.
and so I took a 3 month hiatus, November, December, January, and I just started back February 1st. I feel refreshed. I took that time. I didn't have to, I didn't have to do anything except Room Redux. And it was a load off and it actually energized me. So I think it's becoming aware of yourself and aware of your needs. And if you're starting to feel resentment or feeling burned out, and there are signs, and I bet you're the one to tell everyone what they are in
Mhm.
your coaching and in your book.
Mhm.
Um, Take a step back and realize it. I've always said, do all the things. Life is short, do all the things. But also all the things should involve a bubble bath or a nap or belly dancing, which is what I like to do and haven't done it in years. I need to. So
Beautiful. I wish I could hear more, but I think so. You touched a very, very important point is that before your breakdown or burnout, take a break.
yes.
And you got to understand, or you got to understand that limit. Just being mindful of the time, Susie. This is what I want to ask you is that specifically a person that now, as you mentioned, is that you're doing your studies, and it's not just a certificate course, it is a doctorate course, which you got to put in everything seriously. Then there is the work that you do, and then the home that you're managing. And further than that, there is also the health. And you mentioned about you're going out for a run, which is transformational, that you're keeping yourself active over there. So when you are, when you're putting in all these different elements, and now when you have passed a certain point of time in your life, and you look back, I know you are a speaker,
Mhm.
and yeah, I know you're an exceptional speaker because I've gone through some of the videos.
Oh, thank you.
Is there any, I'm not asking for advice. I'm asking, is there any suggestions that you would like to tell the listeners, whether it is about being a part of the humanity through Room Redux, or just the way you balance elements, or just understanding how your purpose has made you to be a better human. So you can, the spectrum is all yours. So words that you would like to say.
All right. Well, I I will say it sounds so cliche, but follow your bliss. If
Okay.
there is something, and I would say this to a room full of children, which I've done, and I have said this to a room full of more mature women at a women's circle at a church with gray hair. If there is something in your head that makes you happy or an idea that you have, do it. It doesn't matter if you're young, if you're middle aged, if you think you're older, it doesn't matter. Do what is in your mind and what you think is a good idea, because it could turn into a great idea. It could, I mean, nobody's ever done what Room Redux has done. There is no organization that does this, and everyone says, wow, no brainer. But it came from experience. It came from being a family advocate. And then I got the idea, and now it's big. But I think that in order for your life to truly mean something, and it can be anything. My mom has always said every job is important. And it's
Beautiful.
absolutely true. If it's good, if you're doing good for humanity in whatever form that is, then it's good. If you want to start a cleaning service, do that. If you want to write a book, do that. If you want to start a nonprofit, whew, good luck to you. Call me. I can give you some tips. Surround yourself with people who are smarter than you. I will tell you that, because I did not know what I didn't know, and I still don't. But I think that finding out what that purpose is, and it might take years. I mean, like I said, I'm almost 56 years old, and here I am doing this. I enjoyed being Susie Homemaker for 20 something years, and now this is the part of my life that I enjoy and I love, and it is a passion, and I don't see myself not doing it. But who knows? Who knows what's in the future? We don't know.
Fantastic. Oh, beautiful. So here, Susie, I would like to say a huge thank you for your space and time. And guys, what we just heard was absolutely some transformational. It may have not happened in the confines that you are in, or maybe not even in the circles, but you not know. Just you may not know, because these stories they do not come out in the open, and it's not a coffee table story.
Mhm.
It is a hurt which takes place way more deeper. The privilege today I had of talking to Susie, the experiences that she has spoken about, the roles, these all are the powerful forces which has built her and continue to build Dr. Susie in few months regarding child abuse victims. The importance of changing the environment in order to help them heal and break the cycle of abuse. This has been monumental.
Mhm.
Susie, thank
Thank
you for your space and time. It
thank
has been a wonderful journey, and I look forward to connecting with you again at some point.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Thomas. And thank you to everybody who's listened today. And check us out. Go to roomredux.org. Follow us. Come volunteer. Be a part. It's super fun. We are Room Redux.